2016. In memory of Gautham, an outstanding young student with a rare combination of intellectual brilliance and academic distinction.
He was a high flyer who was destined for great things in life. To perpetuate Gautham's memory and redress the sense of void in his loss, Gautham Foundation intends to make creative and supportive interventions in our academic ecospace. In this moment, we commemorate the everlasting memories of our bright star. Once again, I welcome all of you to this occasion. Now, I invite the school choir for the prayer.
ജഗദീശരാത്രിയും ശശാങ്കതാരകങ്ങളും പകലുമർക്കബിംബവും നിറന്ന മേഘജാലവും ജഗദീശരാത്രിയും ശശാങ്കതാരകങ്ങളും പകലുമർക്കബിംബവും നിറന്ന മേഘജാലവും മൃഗദദംബ പക്ഷി വൃക്ഷ പുഷ്പശലഭവൃന്ദവും മികവിൽ നിന്റെ വൈഭവങ്ങൾ വാഴ്ത്തിടുന്നു ദൈവമേ. ഗഗനമെന്തൊരത്ഭുതം, സമുദ്രമെന്തൊരത്ഭുതം, നിഖില ജീവജാല ജീവനെന്നതെന്തൊരത്ഭുതം. സകലതും രചിച്ചതോർക്കിലഖിലനാഥനായ നീ, സകല ശക്തനിൻ പദം നമിച്ചിടുന്നു ഞാൻ വിഭോ. സകല ശക്തനിൻ പദം നമിച്ചിടുന്നു ഞാൻ വിഭോ.
I invite our respected Indu ma'am for the welcome speech. Ma'am, please.
Namaste everyone. A special day enliving the memories of a dear soul, Gautham Anil, and graced by the presence of eminent men of dynamism and innovation. My role here today is to welcome one and all to this ceremony. I'm sure the gathering feels honored to be in the presence of Sri T.P Sreenivasan. Our distinguished chief guest is the Vice Chairman and Executive Head of the Kerala State Higher Education Council with the authority to advise the government in all matters of higher learning in the state. He was a former permanent representative of India to the UN and the Governor for India of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Director General of the project IAEA 2020. He was the ambassador to Austria, Slovenia, Fiji, and other South Pacific island states, working in New Delhi, Tokyo, Thimphu, New York, and Yangon. Mr. Sreenivasan has served in the Indian Foreign Service for a period of 37 long years. With nearly 20 years of experience in multilateral diplomacy, he has represented India at conferences organized by the UN, the Commonwealth, and the non-aligned movement. My dear friends, this great man had a credible academic record in his student days, coming first in the BA and MA English in the University of Kerala. His literary skills are proved by the 4 books he has penned. He is presently the Director General of Kerala International Center and an advisor to the reputed Asianet channel. Sir, I take the honor of welcoming your indomitable presence to this ceremony and this center of learning. A warm welcome to you, sir. These precious moments are realized by the arduous efforts of the committed members of the Gautham Foundation. I take this opportunity to welcome Mrs. and Mr. Anil and well-wishers to the event. Let me also welcome our school principal, Dr. P. Ashokan, Vice Principal, Mrs. Umapi Menon, Administrative Officer, Mr. Ratnagaran, parents, teachers, non-teaching staff, and my dear students to this ceremony. Once again, welcoming you all. Thank you.
I invite our respected Principal Sir, Dr. P. Ashokan, for the presidential address. Sir, please.
Respected Chief Guest of the Day, Mr. T.P. Sreenivasan, sir, dear parents, teachers, and my dear students. To lose something is always painful, And when we are losing someone dear to us is most painful thing in our life. And that pain changed to a positive, creative way of giving guidelines to the younger society. That's what we see here. It comes from a truly spirited father and mother, Mr. Anil and his wife. CKMNSS family bow our head in front of those parents, those who are giving this kind of inspiration to younger ones every year. Especially, it's happening in CKMNSS family. Award is given to one of our students every year. Keeping that in mind, we need to think what all functions are happening in Gautham Purasakar. Now, whenever we are thinking about our education system, whether we are on the right track, whether our education system is good now, is it only a certificate-making system or is it a truly education system? When we are thinking about that, several questions are coming. Once upon a time, when we are thinking about the past era of Bhagavad Gita or 5,000, 6,000 years back, there was an education system which prevailed in India, a Gurukula system of the Vedic period, where the child was given education to live as a developed individual in this society. So education, if it is for the human development, personality development, individual development, after the development of a personality, they should not be going for such activities. Then what is lacking there? A cross-analysis will give you an idea that values are the things which lack in this education system. Education with values, that is needed. Keeping that in mind, when we analyze the present education system, we can understand by imparting knowledge, by developing our cognitive domain, we are competing with others, getting certificates after passing certain examinations, and using these certificates to get a job. And finally, after getting a job, my car, my ATM card, my road, and a shopping mall. That's only needed to live in this society. It should be changed. The relation between other people, how we need to care others. And we saw recently, all these things are vain. It's of no use. Last month, Chennai flood. We remember the story. There was a clip in the WhatsApp which showed a person standing on the top of the flat. He, from the 7th floor of the flat, sent the message, I'm earning more than 2 lakhs per month, head of a corporate company. I'm having liquid cash in my ATM up to 1 lakh. I can withdraw anytime. I have my own car, my own villa. But now I'm waiting for the helicopter to come and give me a packet of biscuit. I'm waiting for a bottle of water. They're not that educated, they're not getting this kind of facilities, but they came to help these fellows. Just help them to move out of the building. Helped with the food and water, whatever they had. So those values in the mind is lost for the educated people in our country. I'm not saying everyone lost it, but majority. So we need to recreate that. How can it be possible? How can be the relation between others should be good? There is a person with us to tell us about the relations, international relations he was handling. So he will be advising us how the members in a society can have good relations, how a parent and the child can have a good relation. All these things we can expect. I'm not taking much time. because we all are gathered here to hear from Sreenivasan sir. So, wishing all the best of New Year 2016. And once again, I bow in front of the memories of Gautham. Thank you. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Now, I invite our guest of honor, T.P Sreenivasan, the Vice Chairman and Executive Head of Kerala State Higher Educational Council and former Permanent Representative of India to various countries. Sir, I invite you to light the lamp and inaugurate the function. I also request you to deliver the inaugural address.
Respected principal of the school, parents of Gautham, Anil and Mr. and Mrs. Anil, distinguished teachers of the school, parents, and my dear friends. This is an exceptionally unusual meeting. I have been to many meetings, many conferences, many memorial lectures, but such an occasion I have never been, where parents have turned their agony, their sorrow, their absolute shock of losing a dear child into an occasion for service for the society. I have never seen it in anywhere else in the world. I have lived in 12 countries, traveled all around the world, but I have never seen anything like this in my life. That is why I am here. The story of my association with Chalakkudi goes a few months. When a total stranger called me, I had never met him, I never heard of him. He is here today among us, Mr. Mohandas. He called me and said, I am the station master of the railway in Chalakkudi station. My immediate thought was, what have I done to the railways? Then he said, I read about you, I heard about you, I believe you have several books. I'd like to read one of them, how do I get it? I said, give me your address, I'll send you a copy. He said, it is very simple. Please hand over a copy of the book to the station master in Trivandrum Central Station, and it'll reach me. I think Mohandas is standing at the back. And the book reached him within 3 hours, I think, after I gave it to the station master in Trivandrum. And then he called me back and said, I got the book, I'm reading it. Again, I have never had such an experience. But I remained in touch with him because you always need the railways. Sometimes I want to change my upper berth to the lower berth. Sometimes I want a train booking within 2 hours. And I had his number, I called him, and it always worked out. And he's the one who called me to say about this. He said, I have a friend who has done this. Will you come? I said, I'll come, definitely I'll come. And later I met Anil. I was very impressed with him because he has no show. He did not show me his anguish. He did not say how sad I was to lose my son. He didn't say anything. He spoke about his son as though he is a stranger. He said, this is this very bright boy who passed away at a very young age, and I am doing certain things in his memory. He said it with a straight face. He had no tears in his eyes. But I had tears in my eyes, because it is a story which is worth hearing about, learning about. Because we all lose dear people to everybody, whatever age you are. When old people die, people think that you don't feel very sad about it because they have had a full life. But I remember losing my father when he was 86. And I was expecting it. I knew he would die. But the moment he died, the world changed for me. Because what is it that links you to this world if it is not your parents? Otherwise, what connection do you have with this world? It's a strange world. It is your father and your mother who have brought you to this world, and they are the ones who have sustained you over the years, and you take it for granted. You always think, when I go home, my father will be there, my mother will be there. But the moment that breaks, you become an orphan. You become someone without a ground, as though the ground looses below you. So it's very painful. But it's even more painful when you lose somebody younger than you, somebody is much younger than you, who is at the prime of his life. Whether that child is bright or not, it doesn't matter. A child is a child, and if you lose a child, I don't think any parents can take it. Of course, human mind is such that you can forget. And that is why we are all here, because we are able to forget what has happened to us, good and bad. And that is where you get faith. When do you think of God? You think of God when you lose somebody. You don't think of God when something good happens to you, do you? You may say, thank God, Guru Ayyappan help me, that's it. After that you don't think about anything. But suppose something bad happens to you, then you raise your heads to God and said, why me? What have I done to deserve this? Isn't it? We all ask that question. Everybody else in this world is happy. Why? How come? I am the only one who is suffering. There is no answer to that. But if you read the Bible, there is an answer. There is a chapter in the Bible called the Book of Job, or Job, J-O-B. That is the chapter which deals with suffering. He is a good man, noble person. He has all the sufferings of the world on him, all the misery. And he keeps asking, why me? What have I done? The answer is, you have done nothing. This is not your fault. But nature, God has His own laws, His own way of dealing with things. If all of us were happy all the time, there would have been no God at all. Why do you need God? God is there because you need Him the worst of your moments. You need Him when you think that you are on the point of disaster. And that is what gives you faith in God. So how do you console yourself? So you console yourself by saying that this is inevitable. There is no way you could escape it. Look at this couple, married 6 days ago, traveling happily from Pondicherry to Trivandrum in a bus. They did not come home. How do you explain that? How do you say, what is this you have done? Right? What have they done? So there is no explanation for all this. If we try to explain God's doings or nature's doings, there is no end to it. You can be a philosopher, you can be a storyteller, you can be anything. And therefore the inevitability of tragedies is something that we must all consciously remember, but we don't remember it. There is the word smashana vairagyam. I don't know whether you have heard this word. When you go to bury somebody, there's a funeral, you go. And when you look at the funeral, you will say, oh, from now I'm going to be a good person, because after all, I'm going to be like this. At that moment, we make all kinds of pledges. I will not fight with my fellow beings. I will not hurt my neighbor. All this you will say while you are at the funeral pyre. And the moment you come out of it, you forget that, don't you? You start fighting with your next neighbor in the car on your way back. So this is the way of life. Happiness, sadness, sorrow, tragedy, everything is part of life. But the test is how you deal with it. How do you deal with tragedy? How do you deal with happiness? How do you deal with your wealth? How do you deal with your poverty? How do you deal with your hunger? And that is where the spirit of man, that is where you find the value of human beings. Of course, the Gita tells you to be passionless, to accept everything as it comes. It's very easy to say. Can you accept everything as it comes? You can't. But that is what Lord Krishna tells you in the Gita. If you have to kill your relatives because your karma. Right? But how many of us can do that? So, all of us have to develop our own methods, our own ways of dealing with all these, good and bad. And that is why this is a great example. They probably now live, Anil and his wife, they live in order to keep their son's memory alive. I'm sure they will say that. There is nothing else that they want. And that is an example of someone dealing with life, dealing with tragedy, and then turning something, making something out of it. And that is how this Purasakar is born. What a beautiful idea, what a noble idea that they thought that our son will now live in the happiness of other children. He will now live in the knowledge that other children acquire. He will now live in the memory of all of those who are benefited from this program. So it's indeed a great moment. Year after year, this moment will come. We'll remember this boy. I have not seen him, but from his picture I can see how bright he would have been. You can see it on his face. And the more you see the face, the more sad you become. But certainly, what his parents is teaching us, making us aware, is the way we deal with our life. Let me express my appreciation to the way they have lived with this tragedy, and they will live with this tragedy for many years to come. But each year, I'm sure they will feel comforted and feel consoled that another child is benefiting from their devotion and dedication to their own son. So all of you, particularly the students, the children, must think about it, because an example that you have to understand, you should not take it casually. You should understand the implication of it. So sublimate, there's a word called sublimate. That's when you have something, you raise it to another level and not remain in the same context. Raise it to another level to make it beneficial. And that is the lesson that we are learning. So I'm glad I was invited to be here today. I'll have a conversation with you later, but for the moment, let me stop by paying a tribute to Gautham and to the parents and to the school on this occasion. And let us hope and pray that God will keep you happy and well. But if God's will is another way, you will still make it acceptable and possible. So thank you very much, and I declare this function inaugurated. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request the guest of honor, Shri T.P Sreenivasan, to present Gautham Purasakar to P. Aishwarya for her academic and co-curricular excellence. I request Aishwarya to come on to the stage and receive the award. I invite Aishwarya for the welcome, for the reply speech.
Namaste. Respected Sreenivasan sir, Anil uncle, Beena auntie, principal sir, teachers, and my dear friends. I'm standing in front of you with mixed feelings, finding it very difficult to put in words. I'm really thankful to all who have led me to this position, to get such a scholarship from such a nice family given by such a great personality. Thank you all. Thank you, God Almighty, for making me worthy of this. I understand the kind and great thought, not only behind this Puraskar, but this great deed of Anil uncle, giving the students of our school every year the rare chance of meeting well-renowned great personalities, which I feel we would never forget in our life. Thank you, Anil uncle. I'd like to assure you that I'll follow this path of righteousness and integrity, which is shown by you people through this noble need ever in my life. Once again, let me thank you all, and I conclude, thank you.
Thank you, Aishwarya. Refreshment is arranged for everyone, and we will rejoin for the interactive session after a few minutes.